Hello and happy Friday. I'm Bronson Woodruff. It is time for today's American Family News Daily Update. The House GOP is working on articles of impeachment against President Biden after he withheld a weapons shipment to Israel. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise said on Fox the House will work to hold the president accountable and to get aid to Israel.
I don't know if Joe Biden's forgotten about it, but a terrorist organization backed by Iran, known as Hamas, invaded Israel, brutally murdered Israelis.
White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby says an Israeli invasion of Rafah would strengthen Hamas's position at the negotiation table. The president has joined other world leaders in calling on Israel to take more steps to minimize civilian casualties. Back here at home, police early this morning started dismantling an anti-Israel tent encampment at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Organizers said only about 10 people were inside the camp, but a crowd outside the camp started gathering and chanting pro-Palestinian slogans. Tensions have ratcheted up in standoffs with protesters on campuses across the U.S. and increasingly in Europe as well. Some colleges cracked down immediately, others have tolerated the demonstrations. Some have begun to lose patience and call in the police over concerns about disruptions to campus life and safety. Police at MIT had first tried to clear the encampment several days before, but protesters stormed past the barriers and set it all back up. Chris Cuomo, the former CNN anchor, he's causing a bit of a stir right now. He's completely reversed his stance on taking ivermectin for the COVID-19 virus, and for acknowledging vaccine injuries as well. You probably remember 4 years ago he mocked the horse dewormer and its defenders on CNN. He told the PBD podcast this week he's taking a, quote, regular dose of ivermectin because he's suffering from so-called long COVID and its effects.
I am taking a, what do they call it? Like a regular dose, whatever. They're trying to build up of ivermectin. Ivermectin was a boogeyman early on in COVID.
You couldn't talk about it.
That was wrong. We were given bad information about ivermectin. The real question is why? Everyone's going to say Joe Rogan was right. No, Joe Rogan was saying, yeah, he was right. But that's not what matters. What matters is the entire clinical community knew that ivermectin couldn't hurt you. They knew it, Patrick. I know they knew it. How do I know? Because now I'm doing nothing but talking to these clinicians who at the time were overwhelmed by COVID and they weren't saying anything. Not that they were hiding anything, but it's cheap. It's not owned by anybody, and it's used as an antimicrobial, antiviral in all of these different ways and has been for a long time.
For malaria for over almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, and my doctor, who's now my doctor, was using it during COVID on her family and on patients, and it was working for them. So they were wrong to play scared on that. Didn't know that at the time. Know it now, admit it now, reporting on it now. Because I think that's the job. The idea that, well, you were a vaccine proponent. Why wouldn't I have been a vaccine proponent? Now there are questions. Oh, no, but I knew at the time. No, you didn't. What you knew was that there were people telling you to be resistant to what the government was telling you to do.
Cuomo went on to answer the why question, money and profits, but he blamed the medical community for keeping quiet about ivermectin out of fear of backlash. Talk show host Richard Randall spoke with AFN about the disdain for ivermectin. He said it can be traced back to another disease, Trump derangement syndrome. Randall says because the liberal news media hated President Trump, anything tied to him was bad. Dangerous storms crashed over parts of the South on Thursday, even as the region cleaned up from earlier severe weather. A heavy line of storms swept into Atlanta. Busy hub airports in Atlanta and Charlotte, North Carolina reported delays. The National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center cited an enhanced risk for severe weather from Texas to South Carolina. In the Vidalia, Georgia area, an emergency manager reported significant wind damage from a possible twister Thursday afternoon. Since Monday, 39 states have been under threat of severe weather, and at least 4 people have died. The weather comes on the heels of a stormy April in which the U.S. had 300 confirmed tornadoes, the second most on record for the month, and the most since 2011. More than 100,000 homes and businesses still lacked power Thursday afternoon in several southern states after the previous night's storms, according to poweroutage.us. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage fell for the first time in 4 weeks. It's a slight relief for home shoppers already facing the challenges of rising housing prices and a shortage of homes for sale. The rate fell to 7.09% from 7.22% last week. Mortgage buyer Freddie Mac said that on Thursday. A year ago, the rate averaged 6.35%. And that'll do it for today's American Family News Daily Update. Have a great weekend. I'm Bronson Woodruff.